Hello, hello, my love. Welcome back to the Aroused podcast for another episode. We are on episode 6 of the breakup miniseries, and holy shit, it's here because today I am talking about an experience that happened 2 years ago with one of my exes. And I'm not here to tell names, but if you know me well enough, you know exactly who this is. The title of today's episode is called You Called Me a Cheater, but What Are You? And that fits so perfectly because I have all the receipts and we are going to be going through them in today's episode. So, are we ready? Let's dive right in. I am so ready to dive into this. But before I do, let's just have a quick drink, a little toast to today's episode. If you are drinking anything today, have a little mini toast with me because I'm really excited to dive into all the tea and share what people can do after a breakup that can be really slimy. So let's get into it. If you're watching the YouTube channel, I will actually have the screenshots posted up on the screen for you to see. If you're listening to the podcast or any podcast apps, there is no video, obviously, so you will not be able to see these. But if you do actually want to see the actual receipts, come over to the YouTube channel. And it all starts off on June 30th, 2019. How's it going, Missy? And I don't really know what to say to this. So I say, hi, blank. You have me confused. You never call me Missy. What are you getting at? Because I'm being very confrontational. I don't know what he's up to. And last time I had heard from his mother that wanted to share how great his new girlfriend was to me, I thought they were still dating because I don't care to update myself on his life. So he responds, I was just saying hello is all. How you been? I say, I've been okay. How are things with the girlfriend? I'm wanting to make things very clear that I'm not going to be saying anything that can be misinterpreted by anyone. So I'm going to directly ask him, how's his relationship going? He said, just okay. How's the business? More importantly, how's Twist? And it's okay. I say, yeah, I've just been sick lately. It's good. A lot of my literary dreams are slowly coming true, so I'm excited for it to all unfold. He's good. He gets a tooth extraction in August, which he doesn't know about. LOL. Oh, everything okay? And when I'm talking about my literary dreams, I was part of a book collaboration that was actually coming out in the next month in August. And I was actually going to be part of another collaboration book that was coming out in November. So he says, oh my, sick with what? And that's awesome. Things need to work out right. LOL, old twist got the old teeth. LOL, old twist got the old dog teeth catching up with him. I say the flu. Yeah, I'm just getting started. I'll write my own book someday. No, he broke a tooth by chewing on a bone. Also, you didn't answer my question. Everything good with the misses? Because he's avoiding the question, obviously, and he's not answering. He said, oh no, that's not good. The flu is the shits. And poor bugger, one of his main ones. I said, okay, ignore my question. He's like, I don't have much to say in that area. So I respond, why is that? He responds, how's the family? Like this little shit. Like he's completely avoiding the question, which makes me interpret that in a really weird way that like there's something that he's hiding or maybe he's embarrassed about something, but the fact that he's just not blatantly coming out to say anything is very suspicious to me. And this was before I became a relationship coach, but I'm just like this is really fishy. This is really fishy and I don't like the way that this is going. And I said, why won't you answer me? Does she know that you're messaging me? I'm just pulling out all the stops. I'm like, how's the girlfriend? You're not answering my question. Like, answer me. Does she know that you're talking to me? He says, no, she does not, because I was just asking how you are as a person, not trying to cause anything. And so I'm like, okay, then answer me on how things are with her. I don't think it should be that difficult. I don't know why I said this, but I was like, and I'm not a home wrecker. I did probably say that because he had accused me of cheating on him so many times in our relationship. And that had become a part of my vocabulary, and the fact that he would always accuse me of cheating on him and then, adopting homewrecker into my vocabulary. But I haven't called myself a homewrecker in probably 2 years now. He says things are actually pretty good with us. And for me, work wise, I honestly just like you to know, and Twist are doing well. That's all. I said, that's great. Yeah, we're doing great. We play soccer way more now. So he loves that. He has a much better life here now. So I'm happy. And he said, that's good. He deserves a good life. And I answer, mm hmm. So that was the end of our first conversation. And then he comes back August 11th, 2019, which is just, a couple weeks later. He says, hey, how are you? I'm in Calgary, actually, just at the Canadian Brew House across from your dad's dental office here for a few days. Just thought maybe we could say hi. And I asked him straight up, you're here with your girlfriend? Because he's never in town. I'm like, why are you here? Are you here on a vacation with her? Like, I don't know your life at all. And I want to be straightforward that it's like, we're going to talk about your girlfriend because it's like, I have nothing to hide. I'm not going to be doing anything with you because, ew, you're my ex and you're kind of a piece of shit. And I just want to be straightforward that it's like, yeah, we're going to talk about your girlfriend because I know you have one. So you're not going to be able to hide that from me. And he says, no, here for a course for work. I thought I'd say hello to you though. I respond, oh, okay. And he says, I just thought it'd be nice to say hi is all. And I said, all right, well, I'm only free tonight and tomorrow afternoon / early evening. And just a quick tip. I don't find it's good to be free the same day. Even if you are free, don't say you're free the same day because it can look like you're desperate or that you don't have anything going on in your life. Whether you have a bunch going on in your life or not, it's important to make sure that he knows that you do have a life that's not just trying to be with him or in any instance. And so that is one mistake that I did make 2 years ago was tell him, "Oh, I'm free tonight." I should have said, I'm only free tomorrow or this day 2 days from now." And I shouldn't have said, "I'm free tonight," because that makes me look maybe like I don't have a life or maybe that I'm desperate to see him, and I definitely was not. So he says, "Maybe tomorrow then, if that's all right." I said, "Yeah, that's fine. Just the rest of my week, I'm unavailable. So whatever works for you." And yet again, another mistake I made. I was like, whatever works for you. And it's like, no, I should have said, if it matches up, cool. If it doesn't, it is what it is. But a good thing I said was the rest of my week is unavailable or I'm unavailable the rest of my week. So it does show that I have a life, which I do. And he needs to know that I'm still living my life without him in all regards. So he responds, for sure, Missy. Hopefully I'm done in decent enough time tomorrow. And he says the fucking M word again. I'm like, who is this Missy? You have never, ever called me that when we were dating, even when we broke up. Because this was just over a year that we had broken up, that he had messaged me and said that he was coming to town. So this has been just over a year that we had broken up, and we had talked a couple times in between that, just to say hi and be like, I hope you're doing well. So when he calls me Missy for the second time, I'm like, hey, this is really weird. You've never, ever called me that. The biggest thing he ever called me was hun when we were dating. So if he would have called me hun, I would have been like, okay, I guess that's not super weird. But for him to call me something like Missy, which is kind of flirty, and you've never, ever called me that, even when we dated, that seems a little suspicious for me. So I said, well, most courses end around 5 or 6, eh? I've taken lots of courses, whether they've been in construction or, CPR, first aid, like a lot of courses, they go from like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And he said, yeah, this is supposed to be 4 or 5. I said, ah, all right. And what exactly were you thinking when we meet up? Like coffee? You didn't exactly clarify that because I'm wanting to make sure I know exactly what his intentions are. I'm like, I don't want to go out for dinner with you. I don't want to spend a fucking hour with you eating dinner and catching up and doing all that stuff. You're my ex and we had a very rocky relationship. I'm like, I don't want it to be serious in the fact of dinner. I'm like, dinner is something that you go out with like friends, and like coffee is something where you like meet someone and make sure that they're not a fucking psychopath. So I was like, yeah, I'm up for coffee. I don't want to go for dinner. So I'm like, I really hope you're not up for dinner. Now that I said that. So he said, yeah, sure, that would be fine. I said, okay, what part of town are you staying in? He said, by the airport, not far from Cross Iron. And I said, okay, so you're in the industrial area. He says, yeah, I guess so. Him not being from here, and I've been around that area, which is like the Northeast. So I know that area very well. I say, I'm just trying to think of coffee spots up there. There's not a lot. And there's not. There's a lot of industrial buildings and warehouses where he was actually staying. And he said, there's a Tim's not far away if that's good enough. And I said, sure, that works. Because I was like, we're going for coffee. I'm not going for dinner. I'm not going for drinks. None of that shit. He says, cool beans. I can't. I can't. Like, this conversation is just the weirdest thing. And I'm literally having these double takes in between, like, reading them and figuring out what I'm going to say next. And I'm like, did he really just say that to me? Like, cool beans and calling me Missy? What is this? And I just respond, great. I'm like, okay. I, I don't have really anything to say to that. He responds back, how you been? I said, good. I'm actually going to hit the hay here as I need to be up early. Have a good night. The next day, I text him and I say, let me know what time you want to meet and which Tim's is close to you. Another mistake I made. I should have just let him text me because girl, um, if he doesn't want to text you, if he doesn't want to meet you, then he's not worth your time. And yes, I'm referring to my ex, and I have never had an interest in getting back together with him. But for me, looking back, I realized how demoralizing it was and devaluing myself to text him and be like, oh, well, I'm really interested in meeting, is what that's saying. He said, should be available around 5. Can I just call you and make a plan then? And I said, right now, misreading the message, and he never uses punctuation, which fucks with the way that I read things. He said, haha, no, then like 4:45 or 5. I said, lack of punctuation makes me read that differently, but yeah, sure, that works. He said, LOL, I suck at texting, you know that. And I'm like, yeah. Mm-hmm. He said, how far are you from the airport? I said, with rush hour, 35 minutes. Oh, that's a ways. I wouldn't make you do that. And this is coming from a kid who lived in like a very, very, very small town. And I come from a city of 1 million people. So for me to drive in rush hour that takes me 35 minutes to get somewhere is nothing. Like if I spend an hour in rush hour getting somewhere across the city, yeah, that's a bigger deal depending where I'm going. But for me, when normally to get to that side of town takes 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes on a day where there's a time that there's no rush hour, it's not a big deal. And I said, it's just because of rush hour. It's not the distance, it's the congested traffic. He's like, oh, I see, I see. And in my head, I'm just like, yeah, you're a small town, like farm boy that doesn't know what it's like to live in a big city. So you don't understand that. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. He said, yeah, like the shop isn't far away from the airport. LOL, you just don't know Calgary traffic rush and how insane it can be. Oh, and I wasn't even coming from home. I was working um, at an office in the South at the time. So I was actually just coming from a different part of the city than I was from home, anyways. He said, yeah, I got no clue. LOL, it's not a big deal. I'm stuck with another guy for this course with a company truck, so we have to share the truck. Just thought it'd be nice to say hello. I mean, we were with each other for a while. Yeah, we were with each other for 2.5 years. Just because we broke up, don't mean we need to hate each other. I was like, well, if you don't want to meet, then that's fine, but just tell me what you want to do. Cause I'm like, that just sounds like you don't want to meet. And it's like, I'm not attached to this outcome of meeting. Like, if you don't want to meet, it's like, I'm perfectly fine with not meeting. And I gave him an out. He said, well, actually, I just talked to Scott, which is his brother, and today's the only day I can get to see him. So I think I'll be doing supper with him there. Are you busy later tonight since you're busy the rest of the week? I said, how long is your course? He said, I'm here till Thursday. I'm done around 4:30 every day. I said, ugh, what time are you thinking tonight? He says, I honestly don't know. Missy uses it a third time. And I'm like, oh, I fucking don't like being called that. And it's weird. And he says, I'm going for supper with Scott at 6 here, I guess. I said, okay, have fun with your brother. He says, see what time that's done. Maybe we can make something work before I have to head home. And I said, yeah, I guess we'll have to see how it all pans out, because I was not attached to meeting him. I was not attached to any outcome. It was like, if you want to meet and it works out, okay. If it doesn't, that's fine too. I'm not attached to having to see you. And so he texted me back at 8:14, just back at my hotel here now. I said, okay. He says, well, is it too late for you now? Or I literally just said, no, I just need to put on pants. Where are we meeting? I probably was wearing pajama pants because I was like, oh, he's probably still with his brother, and I'm just going to put on pajama pants since I haven't heard from him. And, I'm going to get ready. Well, it's 8, but I'm like, I'm just going to be ready for bed because I'm probably not going to go out, and that's fine. And he said, well, there's a Tim's not far from here. I'm staying. Would you be cool to pick me up and just head over there? In my head, I'm like, is it really that far? And I'm like, why do I have to pick you up? I was like really weird about that. I was like, do I just like say no, like walk or like get your own ride there, like get an Uber? But I said, sure, what's your hotel? And so he told me it was the Wingate Hotel. And I'm like, yeah, that's right across the airport. So be there in 25 minutes. He says, okie dokie. And I arrive and he says, be right there. Of course, I'm on the top floor. So those are all the messages I have right before we met. And at that point, I had picked him up. I had still my lifted Chevy at the time. And I drove over to the Tim's, which is literally like a 5-minute walk from his hotel, because I've been to the airport enough to drop off my parents that I know exactly where that Tim's is. I've been there to stop for a Tim's before I go and pick up my parents or drop them off or whatever. And in my head, like as I'm picking him up and I know exactly where I'm going, I'm literally like, you could have walked here. Like it would have been 5 minutes for you to walk yourself. So I'm like, I don't know if there was like a reason that you specifically asked me to pick you up, or if you were just too lazy. I'm like, I don't know. But I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother. Like, why? And so I had ordered a peppermint tea. I was ready to pay for it and he offered to pay for it. And I was like, okay, I won't say no to you paying for a cup of tea for me, considering I paid for how much stuff in our relationship. I was a little bitter back then. And I specifically dressed up to show him what he was missing. I was still very bitter at this point, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen during this meeting. The whole reason I decided to agree was that I actually thought he was going to apologize for accusing me of cheating on him for all the years that we were together. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to dress really nice. I'm going to put on makeup. I'm going to look really, really good. And then he can apologize to me because, that's what I'm expecting. Like, why else would he want to meet me unless he wants to apologize in person and be a real man and own up to his responsibility and his downfalls? And so we sit down. He continues to ask me about my family, how they're all doing. And when I ask him in return, he talks about how his girlfriend, his girlfriend's parents, and his parents are not supportive of his job and they all want him to quit. He was still working at the same company, the same job that he was when we were dating and when we broke up. And I had never said, "Hey, I want you to quit your job." And like my parents had never said anything bad to his face, like about anything. And so in my head, I was just kind of like, yeah, you had it really good with me. Like, I never gave you shit about your job. And I did a lot to work on our relationship during that time. And it's like, my parents never gave you any flack at all when you were working that job. And I barely got to see you. And then I had the opportunity to blurt out that I never fucking cheated on him and to confirm that again. And he just kind of looked at me and he didn't really say, like, I know or anything. He just kind of looked at me and I was like, okay, so this isn't going to happen. I'm not going to get an apology for it. And it made me feel better for the 5 seconds that I said it. But afterwards, it didn't make me feel better. It didn't confirm anything because it still didn't feel like he like believed me or even like heard that I didn't cheat on him. Or it could have been that he didn't want to own up to being mistakenly, or he didn't want to own up to mistakenly accusing me for our entire relationship. And he just didn't want to look like the douche that had done that our entire relationship and say sorry for it, which would have been the adult thing to do. But it showed that he still hasn't grown up. Over the course of our conversation, we talked a lot about what was going on with me and what was going on with him so he could complain about his situation and how shitty things are going for him in his life. And I was trying to put in subtle cues that I kind of wanted to leave because I was done with this whole meeting since he didn't apologize to me about what I thought he was going to, and I never got that. Then he came out and said, "Oh, I should probably get back to the hotel soon. I have to be up early for my course." And I said, "Great, I'll drive you right now." So I drove him back and he gets out of my truck, door open and everything, doesn't even like close the door and like have the window open, but like he's standing out of my car and he kind of has his leg up on my running board and doors wide open. He continues to have a conversation with me, even though he told me like 5 minutes ago, "Oh, I should probably get back. I have to go to bed soon. And, I want to go back to my hotel." And I said, "Okay." So, and then he slipped in there, "Oh, if you're ever in Sask, like just let me know," which shocked me because I was like, mm. And I accidentally blurted out, "Oh, well, I'll be there in the fall for the rodeo's final," because I got tickets. And I should have never said that. I should have never even opened up to that because he didn't need to know my life and it was none of his business anymore what I was doing. So even after he'd said, "Oh, well, if you're ever in Sask, like let me know." And I told him, he had still kept the conversation going for a couple minutes where I outright just said, "What do you want? Like, why are you lingering? You said you wanted to get back to your hotel and you're keeping the conversation going, which I don't understand why." So I'm like, "I don't know what you want. You want leave? Like, what do you want? Like a hug goodbye? I don't understand." And he said, "No, I was just trying to be nice and everything." And he shut the door and I left. But looking back on that, I had a feeling that he had potentially wanted me to come up to his room and do something. That was a feeling that I had had. And even talking to a couple friends over the past couple years about that and about the whole situation itself, they had said, "Oh, he planned this. First of all, you don't just do that out of nowhere. He had a plan and he was determined to do this because you don't just come out of nowhere with this and come up with that on the fly. Like you have to figure that out." And a couple of them also said that, he probably did want to have sex with you one last time or get you upstairs to do something. because of the way that he was lingering. And, a guy doesn't just linger for no reason. So it confirmed a lot of feelings and body language that I had seen from him, because it just wasn't adding up to what he was like saying. And also looking back again, when I called him out on it, he was probably embarrassed that I was catching on and didn't want to seem like he was going to cheat on his girlfriend with me. But if you're wondering if I ever talked to him that following fall when I was going to the rodeo finals in the city that he actually lived in, which was not my choice, I would have gone to anywhere in Saskatchewan for the rodeo finals, but they happened to be in the city where he lived in. But we haven't talked since then. I have no interest. He has said on a couple occasions that he wanted to be friends. And even though I was the one that ended the relationship, I don't know if I will ever be there where I want to be friends with him, considering what happened in our relationship. And it was very toxic, not just on his side, but I was very toxic in the way that I had manipulated him in a couple situations, because I had learned from the master that he had manipulated me as well. But I was also very toxic in over loving him and doing everything for him, because I thought, oh, well, he's not doing all these things that I want. So, I'm going to go above and beyond and be the best girlfriend possible so that he's going to want to treat me good in return. And he never did that. So that was a huge toxic trait that I had and had been dealing with ever since that breakup as well, because if you have ever done that, you don't deserve to be with someone that's only going to put in the minimal effort. You deserve someone that when you do something for them or with them, they want to do just as much, if not more, back to you. And that's exactly what you deserve. So that's something that I had to learn on my own ever since that breakup. And I was just like, yeah, that didn't work. And that was a huge toxic trait that I had to heal from. So I'm not saying that our entire relationship was all him and he was toxic for the whole relationship and I was the naive, innocent little girl. I was toxic as well, but he didn't make things better by accusing me of cheating pretty much every single month that we were together, even though I had dissolved a friendship with one of my very best friends that I had known for a year prior. And that didn't apparently make any difference to him. And he had never learned and he had never healed from the baggage of past girlfriends cheating on him. He had never healed from that. So because of his baggage that he never recovered from that and healed from it, then he passed that on to our relationship and it caused a lot of problems for us. I have no idea what his relationship with his current partner is like. I don't care what it's like. And that's okay, because we're not together anymore. I don't want him a part of my life. And that's the thing with breakups as well. So if it doesn't matter whether you're the one that breaks up with the other person or vice versa. You have the choice whether you want to be friends with someone or not, but you can't control what the other person is going to do. Whether they want to be friends or not, you can't control that. And because I don't want to be friends with him, we can't be friends, because he wants to, but I don't. So it's never going to happen. And he can't control that. But I never thought that he would want to be friends with me afterwards. I think you can be friends with your ex. It's just very far and few between. I am friends with one of my exes that I like dated in a serious capacity. I'm still friends with other guys that I've dated here and there, but it wasn't really serious and I'm still friends with them. But there's only one boyfriend that I was serious with and that we are still friends, and that's Cameron. So I have been very upfront and open about my friendship with Cameron, that he is healed and changed as a person for us to be able to be friends now. And even I've changed and healed from a lot of things as well, so that we can be friends. And I don't think I'd be able to be friends with anyone else that I've dated in a serious capacity besides Cameron, because he changed and he showed me that, compared to this ex that I'm talking about in this video, where he showed me that he hadn't changed at all. And especially in his anger issues as well. He told me that it was just after a year of like the anniversary that we broke up, that he wasn't angry anymore at me. And at the time that we met, it was literally a year and 2 months after. So it proved to me that he hadn't grown up. He still had rage and anger issues that took him a year to deal with from our breakup. And he was still this immature man that hadn't grown, hadn't healed from anything, and couldn't own up to the fact that he accused me of cheating when I had never cheated on him. So there were a lot of those signs that I was like, you haven't grown up, you haven't healed, you haven't said sorry for certain things that, I do believe that you should say sorry for. I don't need a sorry, but it's the right thing to do because I have forgiven him, but I have not forgotten. And that's what's really important from any breakup is you don't have to forget what happened, but it's important to eventually forgive them. I've talked about my other relationship where I was 17 and my 19-year-old boyfriend raped me. I have forgiven him for that. I don't hate him. I don't have any ill will against him. I have forgiven him. I've also forgiven myself. And so I could move on with my life. But if you continue to hate them and hold a grudge, then you're going to hold yourself back in life in many aspects of your life just because you're going to have a bitter heart, you're going to harden your heart, and you're holding this grudge that's not allowing you to grow into this amazing human being after your breakup. So let this be a lesson for you and be very careful if an ex ever wants to meet you. I mean, always meet them in public. I was never going to have him come over to my house. I was never going to go to his hotel room, even though I knew him. I wasn't going to let him be alone with me in any aspect. Doesn't matter. He never hit me. He never sexually hurt me or anything. But I wasn't going to let him be alone with me and be in that situation for myself because it's not safe. So that's why I wanted to meet for coffee. I wanted to meet at Tim Hortons somewhere that was public. So there were other people around. So he had to behave himself. And that's really important. So I encourage you to be aware about what your safety is, whether you meet someone new after your breakup, whether you're meeting an ex, whether you're just meeting a friend you haven't seen in a long time. Make sure that you're safe and go to a public place where there's other people around just for your safety. Because I can guarantee there's been a time in your life as a woman you have been worried about your safety, whether you don't walk alone at night because you're scared someone might do something. Make sure that you're being safe. That's what I have for today's episode. Make sure to check out my free breakup resource vault. That's at bit.ly/breakup vault now. You can sign up for your free account now, and I'm going to be updating the vault every 2 weeks with something new. So make sure you head over there. There's a lot of incredible resources, and all of the podcast episodes are going to be uploaded up there. So make sure to check that out and sign up before I make this a paid thing. So I will see you over there, and I'll see you tomorrow for next episode.